Welcome back everybody to another Take It Racing 2 video, and this one we'll be looking at what I've done since the last video. If you don't remember, Take It Racing 2 is a Game Boy racing management strategy game. And obviously the racing is like top down. You can't control your car like you would normally. Instead you just, control wherever it goes. Eco, normal, or fast. So in this video I'll be talking about what I did since last time. And if you remember, last time I set up this basically check to see if I had done the artwork for the car, and I don't remember what I was at. Maybe I was at 60% possibly, but now I am at 100%. So what that means is I've done all of the car artwork. So if I take you to my Instagram page, what that really means is this, like, each car has a piece of artwork for it. Obviously they have a logo, they have a name logo, they have a year, and they also have which class and whatever they are. And so yeah, I'll just show you some of the last ones. These ones from 1989 and 1988. By the end I was very confident with the cars, but I was feeling as though they are out of scale with each other, but I don't mind too much because some cars need to have that extra scale in order to get the detail in. While some of them don't, and they won't ever really be right next to each other, so I think it's fine. The main thing I'm thinking about now is going back to the original cars that I did for the 1950s when you begin the game, because obviously I've had way more experience, but I'm trying not to actually do that. I'm trying to move forward instead of go back and perfect everything, because that just takes too much time. But yeah, so if we look here, we've got a St. Bernard, which is a Aston Martin race car. Another Aston Martin, but it's more like a V8 Vantage style car. A Porsche. By the end, I was just basically copying the Porsches and then editing them slightly and changing the roof line, pushing the lights forward and back a tiny bit. But the overall shape was there, and I was happy with it, which makes life very easy, speeds things up nicely. This is I think it's a Nissan, probably a Z210 or something. I just swapped it around. The Vala, which is a Lola Formula car, which is pretty cool. I like how I put the exhausts on the side. I was in this era of Formula cars, they kind of all look the same-ish. So I tried to make them a bit more exciting or different from each other. And then yeah, this one up on Tariff. And I think I made another version of this, maybe a 1984 car, where it's either longer or shorter. I can't remember. But yeah, making 223 cars is not easy, especially when you have to input the stats on each single one. And that's why all of these stats are probably don't make any sense, because obviously they aren't meant to. So as you can see here, this is a template where I'll have the logo here, the name here, the year, all the information, the car art here, and even the how much the car will be worth. And I found this plugin online. It's called Make My Cards. I haven't actually tested it yet, but obviously I can see it does work. Yeah, so the plugin would normally be used for making a bulk amount of cards, and that would be for making a board game, right? So you would have the same back or a different back maybe, and you just want to change an image in the file, change some text, and it basically has a program that will just fill it out for you, right? So the CSV file is what an Excel spreadsheet or a Google Sheets exports as. And the idea is I would put in the information into the spreadsheet, and then it would read, this plugin would read that information and basically fill out this template with the correct stuff, and then do that for every single card, 223 times, outputting every single, correct artwork. And it would take maybe a couple of minutes, rather than me doing it myself and it taking literally hours. And the reason why this is so important is because it basically means I can change the artwork in the game extremely easily en masse, right? If I wanted to update this page or something, I would just change the values in the spreadsheet, input it into that plugin again, and then re-output everything. And I wouldn't have to do it all by hand, which I was doing before, which I kind of feel silly for doing that because it, took so long. But obviously I only had like maybe 20 cars in the game, and therefore it's not as bad. But obviously when you scale up, things change. And that's what people seem to forget with game design. Like, scaling up does change a lot. That's why I really recommend you make small games, because it means you don't have to automate every single process you do, and having points of failure that can go wrong. Or if you're not a programmer like me, if I didn't find this plugin, I maybe would have had to go back to Photoshop, because that's what I used to make cards in, using, I think it's called data sets or something. It's a built-in feature of Photoshop, but it's not of GIMP, unfortunately. So basically telling you I have the means of creating hundreds of these artworks at once. Obviously, I would have to export the car art from another file and then save it into a size that's about this size, so that when this image is replaced, if I click here, when this image is replaced, then it will, replace it with the car that it's actually referencing in the spreadsheet. Same with the logo, same with the name, artwork. So now that I've done all the car artwork, I actually created a new spreadsheet over here, and I color coded it a bit better for myself so that I can actually see it. And I've basically wiped all the the data for the stats of the cars so that I can go back to the drawing board and make sure that everything is balanced out correctly, thinking about the the racetracks and the timeline for the championships and the championship stats and everything. So yeah, I'm thinking more broadly now rather than individual car artworks. And yeah, I have started thinking about the AI for the races. So before, I had it so in this race, or in every single race, every time it goes to a new section, there's a bit of lag here, right? And you obviously have to press Z or A on the Game Boy to bring up this piece of information, but there is a lag between when you press it and when it actually comes up, and that is because all of the racers in the race are calculating their stats, and therefore it's not going as smoothly. So what my plan is next is to have the racers do it after the player chooses their thing. And that isn't ideal because it means there'll be a lag afterwards. And I couldn't actually make that work before. I think the complexity of my scripts meant that I would have to have it overcomplicated in order to make it happen afterwards, because of the way it does its checks. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, but basically I'm going to simplify it. So at the beginning of the lap, the AI basically check, can I complete this lap? And if they can't complete the lap, based on how much fuel they have and how much fuel they need, then they'll drive eco. If they have more than enough to finish the race, they'll drive on the fast mode. And if they have just enough, then they'll just drive normally, right? And hopefully by doing it at the start of the lap, it will mean that it doesn't lag throughout the rest of the section. And if it happens after the player chooses what they want to do, it means that it just means it should go way smoother and that the lag isn't there. I will also be cutting down the AI's numbers. So currently, I don't know if it's true or not, but obviously in this one, we can try and go slow, see what position we can get to. But yeah, I think I had 15 races in a race at max. I think maybe it was 8. I had to take it out. Though I was 11th there, I think, or something. I'm not really sure. Yeah, but basically, I want to cut it down so there's only 5 AI races for every single race, because that will just simplify it immensely, and it will mean that there isn't so much balance I have to do. I can just focus on what is necessary. Having more racers that you're against doesn't actually change the game almost at all. Yeah, if you remember, there is point-to-point racing in this newer version of the game. And I'll show you the longest track I've made so far. I'll just show you the stats of it. It's obviously the Mille Miglia, which is meant to be, you know, a racetrack that's on the road. And it basically just takes place in Italy, right? But basically, you see here, there's 33 sections. If we have a look at the full length, it's 45 kilometers, obviously in-game kilometers. And if we have a look here, each of these rectangles, by the way, is the game screen. So the screen will see, you know, what's in this rectangle. And if we zoom out, then we can see the race is extremely long. And I've tried to make it emphasize the higher stats of the cars, so that it's more of like a harder track, basically. As you can see, this is like winding around streets, and then we got some fields and some orchards and stuff, some little farmland, and then up through the hills, and then down into another little town, through a little park or something, and then out into the fields again to end. But yeah, I'm kind of just excited to get the track artwork done, and I've began matching the stats to obviously the car's stats. You know how I said from 1 to 30. I've also been thinking about how in each decade, you see here how these stats are just the same, and it's because I've got like a table in front of me. I drew on my whiteboard from S class down to D class, from 50s up through to the 80s, each decade. Basically, the average stat I want there to be for that kind of thing. So it's like an exponential curve in a way. That by the time it gets to the 80s, it's like way more than it was in the 70s, and definitely way more than it was in the 50s, right? So, for example, the D class in the 50s is 2 on average. In the 80s, it's 10. And obviously, that 10 is better than the A class in the 50s. But then the A class in the 80s is 21, which is just, you know, blowing the D class out of the water. And then the S class is 25 on average. And obviously, I want there to be some cars that are hitting that 30 stat. So yeah, I've got this all down in my head on whiteboards in this spreadsheet, and I'm pushing forward. And I've obviously got the plugin ready to go. And obviously, if you haven't seen on Instagram, I've been trying to post every day. I haven't been. What this really needs is just an update. I need to get back into GB Studio free and recreate the game with these new rules that I've basically set up, with the new artwork, you know, with the simplification, and get back into it, right? Oh yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about is the Rob Trader character. If I go into special here, we see this guy. My name is Rob Trader. I sell rare cars when I find them. There are no special cars in this demo. I could provide a car if you can't afford one, and he also is the guy you sell cars to. But basically, I've thought about how I want him to work. If you remember, we have a calendar which works in seasons. So as you see, this is spring, and then after we do more races, it goes into summer, and then autumn, winter, and then it will go to 1951. And that is special because it means that every season I want there to be the possibility of him selling a different car. So basically, there's 2 options for him. Oh, actually 3 options, I guess. 3 options. He will sell cars that are from the future, right? So basically, that aren't out yet, that you can't buy in the normal shop. And he'll sell them for like 3 times, 2 times maybe the price of the normal car, but ahead of time, right? So the idea is that by, you know, selling the player expensive cars that are better than the cars they have right now, it means that we're actually catering towards players who are ahead of the game and are finding it very easy, and then basically giving them a handicap of taking their money away, but also giving them a reward by giving them a car that they don't have access to yet. Then we also want to be providing help to the players who are actually behind. So we'll sell cars that are old for half price, right? So normally you would sell a car for half price to this guy, but by buying them at half price, it means you basically, if you need to, buy the car from him, do one race, give it back, and you haven't lost any money except for the price of entry. And if you didn't win the race, then obviously you've lost that. And then obviously the third option would be there is nothing in that season. But the idea of selling future cards, selling old cards is definitely, I've now planned that in my head. And I will have to think about each year or each season and what the player will need at that point, and think about, you know, each card that will be being bought then. I don't want it to be random because the randomness in GB Studio and on the Game Boy is not random, and that does create problems. So I'd prefer to script it so that you can kind of expect what if you played it before, you know what to expect. You can kind of plan for that, and it becomes like part of the game. And obviously if you want to speed run the game or something, then it's there for you, and it's like you can rely on it, right? So I'll just put my patrons up on the screen right now. Thank you so much to you guys. I hope this video was interesting, gave you an insight into how I'm making this game. I hope you're glad that I, you know, finished the car artwork and I'm thinking about the stats and everything, thinking about the actual design of the game. And I'm getting, you know, more excited to sink my teeth back into this. Obviously, this is my passion project, so I am enjoying the time I'm spending on it. I really enjoyed making the car artwork. And I'm kind of glad that I'm getting to share on Instagram, and some people are actually, you know, actually liking it. So thank you for everyone who's actually gone there and liked it. But yeah, let me know if you're enjoying this Ticket Racing 2 series. I know it's been a long time, and I haven't given an update in a couple of weeks, and I definitely haven't updated this itch page in a long time. But I hopefully will be back into actually developing the game very shortly. But yeah, I hope that for you, those of you who watch this series intently, are enjoying it. And if you are, remember to like the video if you like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one. So thank you very much for watching.